Somewhere in the world, right now, a heart is beating for the very last time. And one day, far from now, yours will too. But here is the strange truth almost nobody tells you. Death is not a single moment. It is a slow, surprising journey. Your brain might switch on, not off, in its final seconds. Genes can wake up days after you are gone. And a few creatures barely die at all. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to follow your body, gently and honestly, from your last heartbeat all the way back to the stars. No fear, just one of the most astonishing true stories science has ever uncovered. This is what really happens when you die. It begins the instant your heart stops pushing blood. And the first organ to feel it is the one that makes you, you. Your brain is a fuel monster, just 2% of your weight, yet it devours a fifth of all your oxygen. Cut the supply, and it fails first. Around 10 seconds without fresh blood, and consciousness fades. Quietly, the lights begin to go out. Strangely, doctors say it is often painless. As oxygen fades, so does fear. Many who have come close describe not terror, but a soft, warm calm. But your cells do not die all at once. For minutes after, trillions of them are still alive, still working, waiting for an oxygen that will not come. Your heart, oddly, can keep twitching for a while on its own, running on a tiny electrical spark of its own. It does not need the brain to try. This is the precious window where CPR can still pull someone back from the edge. It buys time, forcing a little blood to the starving brain.
And cold can stretch that window astonishingly far. People have fallen into freezing water with no pulse for over an hour and been revived, alive. Because when the body is cold, it barely needs oxygen at all. In medicine, there is a saying, you are not dead until you are warm and dead. But when the window finally closes, the body begins to change in slow, predictable ways. First, it cools, about 1 degree every hour. The blood, no longer pumped, drifts down with gravity, pooling softly in the lowest parts of the body. And the muscles slowly stiffen. Without fuel, they lock in place. We call it rigor mortis, and it peaks around 12 hours, then fades again. These quiet changes are so reliable that investigators read them like a clock to learn the hours since a life ended. Even now, the body keeps time. But here is where the story takes its first strange turn. Because the dying brain may not fade quietly at all. In a laboratory in Michigan, a scientist named Jimo Borgigan was recording the brains of rats at the exact moment their hearts stopped. She expected the brain waves to simply go flat. Instead, in the 30 seconds after the heart stopped, the brain did the exact opposite. It surged, a wild, organized burst of gamma waves. The very same waves tied to focus, memory, and conscious experience, firing more connected than in waking life. It was as if at the moment of death, the brain flared brighter than ever, like a candle blazing highest just before it goes out. Years later, her team watched for it in dying human patients. As life support was gently removed, 2 of the 4 drains lit up the same way. And the surge fired in the back of the brain, in a region scientists nickname the hot zone, deeply tied to conscious awareness. Now, we have to be honest and careful. The scientists are clear. This does not prove the person was aware. None survived to tell us what, if anything, they felt. But it shows something profound. The dying brain can be intensely, beautifully active in its final moments, a last electric flare in the gathering dark. And there may be one sense that lingers longest of all, staying with us right to the very edge. Hearing. In a hospice study, researchers played gentle tones to dying, unconscious patients, and their brains still answered, almost like healthy young listeners. We cannot know if they truly understood the words, but it is a quiet, powerful reason to keep speaking to those we love, right until the end. Which brings us to the most haunting mystery of all, the tunnel, the light, the whole of a life flashing by in an instant. All around the world, across every culture, people who came back from the very edge of death describe strangely similar things. A deep, flooding peace, the sense of floating above their own body, a brilliant, loving light, and their entire life replayed before them. In the largest study ever done, scientists followed more than 2,000 cardiac arrests across 15 hospitals. About 1 in 10 recalled a near-death experience. Some even recalled lucid thoughts and memories from a time when their heart was stopped and they should have had no awareness at all. Many described the same gentle shift afterward. They come back changed, less afraid of dying, more in love with being alive.
Young children, too young to have learned these ideas, describe the very same tunnels and lights. That is part of what makes it so hard to explain away. So what is really happening? Science has real earthly clues, and the first is simply a brain running out of oxygen. Here is a striking hint. Fighter pilots, spun in giant machines until blood drains from their heads, black out, and report the very same tunnel, light, and peace. Then there is the life review. As the brain floods with that final surge, decades of memory may fire at once, replayed in a heartbeat, and a tide of natural painkillers, endorphins, may wash through, bringing that profound and floating calm. To be fully honest, we still do not completely understand it. It is a real physical brain event with real explanations and a piece still missing. But here is the comfort science offers. Those final moments may be far richer and far gentler than any of us ever feared. Now the journey takes a turn most people never imagine, because in a strange and beautiful way, you do not fully stop living. Remember the trillions of bacteria that lived inside you, that were half of you? With your body still, they begin a quiet new world of their own. Scientists even have a name for this hidden ecosystem of the dead, the necrobiome. For a while, you become a living landscape, teeming with microbial life. And then something almost unbelievable happens. Days after death, certain genes do not switch off. They switch on. In careful studies on animals, researchers found hundreds of genes growing more active after death, and some were genes last used before the creature was even born. It is as if the body, in shutting down, briefly echoes its own beginning, a faint, final whisper of the deepest machinery of life. Eventually, the body gives back everything it once borrowed. The carbon, the water, the minerals, all of it flows quietly back into the earth. A single body can spark a whole burst of fresh life. The grass grows greener, the soil grows richer. The story does not end. It feeds forward. For almost all of history, this is how every living thing has gone. Not vanishing, but transforming. The same matter dancing into a new shape. Whales sink to the deep and feed entire worlds of creatures for decades. A fallen tree becomes a nursery for 100 new lives. Nothing is wasted. But all of this leads to one enormous question, one that has haunted humans since we first looked up at the stars. Why do we die at all? Because here is a secret that surprises almost everyone. Physics does not demand it. A single cell can divide forever. Death is not built into life itself. So why did nearly every living thing, including you, end up with an expiry date? The answer is evolution.
and it is quietly brutal. Evolution truly cares about only one thing: passing your genes to the next generation. And the moment that is done, its grip on you begins to loosen. Picture it this way: a harmful gene that only strikes at 80, long after you have had children, is almost invisible to natural selection. It is never weeded out. So across millions of years, those late-life faults pile up, unfiltered. Your body was never tuned to last forever, only to last long enough. There is an even sharper twist. Some genes help you when you are young and harm you when you are old, and evolution keeps them anyway.
Because a gene that makes you strong and fertile at 20 wins the great race, even if it quietly costs you everything at 70. And the simplest truth of all, your body has only so much energy. It spends it building the next generation, not repairing itself forever. In some animals, this bargain is shockingly stark. A salmon swims thousands of miles home, lays its eggs, and within days its body falls apart and dies. Its death is not an accident, it is programmed. The moment its genes are passed on, its body is switched off, on purpose. A mother octopus is even more haunting. She guards her eggs without eating until they hatch, and then she quietly fades away, having given everything. It is nature's bargain, written in flesh. Create new life, then step aside. And in our own slow way, we are part of that same ancient deal. In a sense, your body is a beautiful, disposable vessel, built with breathtaking care to carry life one step forward, and then to let go. And deep in your cells, you can almost see the timer ticking. Tiny protective caps on your DNA, called telomeres, grow shorter every time a cell divides. It is just one of many quiet clocks inside you. Not the whole story of aging, but a haunting and beautiful piece of it. But if death is just a choice evolution made, then surely, somewhere out there, something skipped it. And astonishingly, something did. Meet the immortal jellyfish, a creature smaller than your fingernail that may have cheated death altogether. When it grows old or sick or starving, it does not die. It melts back into a baby version of itself and begins its entire life over again. In theory, it can do this again and again and again, forever. Though out in the real ocean, a hungry predator still gets it in the end. Then there is the Hydra, a tiny pond creature built almost entirely of stem cells that renew without end. It simply does not appear to age. Now, travel to the cold seas near Iceland and meet a clam that scientists named Ming. They counted the rings on her shell, just like a tree. She was 507 years old, born before Shakespeare was even alive. She had survived 5 centuries in the dark, silent deep, through plagues and empires, until the very scientists studying her accidentally ended her long life. In the freezing Arctic swims the Greenland shark, gliding slowly through the dark. They can live for around 400 years. A shark alive today may have been born before the telescope was invented. Some have circled the ocean for longer than your country has existed. And then come the tortoises. Studies found many barely age at all. Their risk of dying does not climb with the passing years. One tortoise, named Jonathan, is still alive today at around 190 years old, having outlived almost 2 centuries of human history. Even plants play this game. A pine tree named Methuselah has stood for nearly 5,000 years, already ancient when the pyramids were young. Even the humble lobster fights aging, flooding its body with an enzyme that rebuilds those shortening caps on its DNA. But it is not truly immortal. In the end, even the lobster is worn out by the sheer effort of growing each new shell. And in the dry plains of Africa lives a wrinkled little hero,
The naked mole rat. It lives past 30, almost never gets cancer, and barely seems to age. In the icy Arctic glides the bowhead whale, a gentle giant that can live beyond 200 years. Hunters have found old spear tips from the 1800s still buried in living whales. And in a quiet forest in Utah stands a creature that may be the oldest living thing on Earth. It looks like a forest of trees, but it is one. Its name is Pando. Thousands of trunks, all sharing a single root system, a single life. It has been quietly alive for tens of thousands of years. Scientists study all these creatures like treasure maps, searching for the secrets hidden inside them. Because if they could crack aging, then maybe one day, so could we. So why not us? Why did we get an ending when they did not? Because we are big and we breed early. Evolution chose our children over our forever. We lack the jellyfish's rewind, the hydra's endless stem cells, the lobster's repair. We traded immortality for the chance to begin again in someone new. All of this leads to a question humans have whispered for thousands of years. If death is not a law of physics, could we one day switch it off? It is no longer just a fairy tale. In labs around the world, scientists are quietly hunting for the off switch of aging. As you age, some of your cells stop dividing, but refuse to die. These zombie cells linger, leaking damage into the body around them. So scientists built drugs to clear them out. In mice, sweeping away these cells made the animals stronger, healthier, and longer lived. Others are chasing something even bolder, turning back a cell's clock entirely, rewinding it to a younger state.
With a special set of molecular signals, scientists have made old cells young again in a dish, and even rejuvenated tissues in living mice. It is astonishing. And it is also fragile and early and dangerous. Push those signals too far, and cells forget what they are and turn cancerous. So let us be clear and honest. No one has reversed human aging. No pill makes you immortal. Anyone who promises that today is selling a dream. But the direction is real. For the first time in history, aging is being studied not as fate, but as a problem, perhaps even a solvable one. And it raises a strange new question, one our ancestors never had to ask. If we could live forever, would we even want to? So in the end, what is death really? Not a wall, a doorway, woven into the very design of life. Without it, there would be no room for the new, no fresh mixing of genes, no change, no evolution, and so no you. Death is the price and also the engine of every beautiful thing life has ever made. And the atoms that make you, the carbon, the oxygen, even the iron in your blood, were forged long ago inside dying stars. They have already been part of countless other things before you, and one day they will scatter and become part of countless more. You are not separate from this universe. You are a brief, glowing arrangement of it that woke up, opened its eyes, and got to look around in wonder. And when it ends, nothing is ever truly lost. It simply flows onward into the great unbroken story of life that has run for billions of years.
So perhaps do not fear the dark quite so much. You were made of starlight, and to the stars, one day you will quietly return. If this gave you even a moment of wonder, stay curious with me. There is so much more strange and beautiful science still to explore. I will see you in the next one.